Electrocast.
There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by the Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, CEO and founder, and I am honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through paying it forward and giving back. Ethical business owners and holistic healers who are determined to create collective change in the world. Once we have a change in consciousness, and through collective change, we can become one. My next guest was another divinely guided connection that I'm honoured to share with you. Reverend Sheree Taylor-Jones has a passion to assist people in questioning their personal beliefs, assessing and analysing if those beliefs are valuable or need to be changed, and giving them permission to release beliefs which no longer serve them and create new, empowering ones. It's in our ability to question our convictions that we are able to create personal transformation, which leads to a collective shift in consciousness. In this interview, Reverend Sheree comes to us from her motorhome in the woods of Oregon. And when I met her online, I knew she was one of my tribe. Our connection and energy was electric. Enjoy this as our energy sparkles. Check her out at www.preachitsister.com. Welcome, Sheree, to the Ethical Evolution.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Now, as we connect online recording, you're in Oregon, it's US, isn't it? Yeah.
That's correct.
And you're in your motorhome at the moment, and as we're recording, obviously there's the global pandemic around COVID-19. But can you tell us about who you are and what you do?
Sure. I am a minister.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you that at the age of 49, I looked around me and I thought, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not living my life purpose. And at that point, at 49, I decided to go back to school. I went into seminary, a 3-year program, and thought, what was I thinking? And I became ordained in New Thought, and I became a pulpit minister. And I realized, this isn't it either. So now what? And I've really been trying to navigate a path of how do I get what I really believe is an important message out into the world, not just in the religious segment, but just in general to everyone. And really my passion is about how do we look at our belief systems and assess them, analyze them, and really make our own conscious decisions of, does this work for me? Where did this belief come from? Oh, this one's from my grandmother and she's from the Depression. And so that belief makes sense for her back then, but it no longer serves me. And now I can create new beliefs.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the passion of how do we go about that in a way that is gentle, loving, and accepting of where we are, where we were, where we are, and where we're going to go in the future.
That's it, isn't it? Because, a lot of the time, once we reach about our 30s and 40s, we start to realise that a lot of the beliefs and thought patterns that we've got, it's conditioning from, our parents, society, our ancestors. And when we can get past that and actually see what's us, that's where true magic happens, I reckon.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's where we get to then create the world that we say that we want. It's from that. And when we're able to create it on an individual level, then collectively we're able to create a world that represents who we truly are. And that's what's exciting about this work.
Yeah. So tell us about your mission. So how do you help people?
My mission is about the evolution of consciousness one act at a time.
Ooh.
And so, how do we do that? So for me, it's to make every interaction that I have with someone as meaningful as I can and allowing that person to be as meaningful or not
Mm,
as they choose to be. So there's this level of grace in the interactions of being open, allowing myself to be vulnerable or not.
mm.
So it sounds really very woo-woo-ish, for
Yeah.
lack of a better
Yeah.
phrase. Um, but what it really is what I've been learning as I've stepped out in this way and just traveling around the country is that I can understand how people have these different beliefs.
Mm,
If I was raised in this environment with these particular folks within this culture, I too would think the same way.
yeah.
And so, in that, there's this level of releasing the judgment, making people wrong, blaming and shaming them to, oh, let's see what this interaction is going to be like. What am I going to learn and experience from this? And is it possible for someone to learn and experience something from having an interaction with me as well?
Mm. So, I think I read in some of the stuff that you sent me, you talked about New Thought Ministry.
Yes,
Yeah. So, do you basically coach people into breaking through those old belief patterns and things like that?
that's what I do.
Yeah.
Yes. The New Thought movement started around the Age of Enlightenment when people were starting to kind of question things and beliefs, and it was this age of like women empowerment
Mm,
and science and breaking through religious beliefs, and so that's where a lot of the New Thought movement stem from, and they were they saw themselves as metaphysicians, so going beyond
mm,
what is the literal, and it was just this exciting time of expansiveness.
mm,
So that's where the new thought ideology comes from. Um, for me, I first was exposed to it in my early to mid 20s,
mhm,
and it was a profound game changer.
mm.
Um, because you may hear my dogs bark in the background because they're guarding the beach. They see the beach as theirs, and should any other dog come, we have issues. So
You're
I
covered.
apologize for that. Um, so it was a game changer for me because I realized all the things that I thought of as a little kid that people were telling me, and I thought, that doesn't sound right.
Mm,
That kind of sounds bizarre. I don't think that's true. But then, you're conditioned that you mind what your elders say.
mm.
So when I finally got into this new thought community, it was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I was conditioned to the rules and regs that they were conditioned to. And now I have a choice of
Mm,
what kind of life do I want to live and how can I impact the world?
mm. Yeah. So just going back to the traditional religion kind of stuff that you've gone through, in
Mhm.
comparison, why did you feel it wasn't a great fit for you?
I grew up as a Catholic kid.
Yeah.
I went to Catholic school, I did the confirmation, uh, been beaten up with the Bible by the best of them. And and here's what I came away with.
Mhm.
The core traditional religions were a way of having people comply and fit in. It
Mm,
was a way of control.
mm,
And I believe it was necessary at the time. And I believe that we are in another evolution of consciousness
mm.
where we look and we say, at the time they did the best that they could.
Yeah.
These religious fathers, church fathers, got it. In their time, it was an evolution. And now we get to do the same thing here.
Mm,
We get to release the punitive ways of looking at the relationship between God and human. We get to say, you know what? I was not born into being a sinner.
mm,
I'm a divine human being, the spark of everything. And what am I going to bring to the world?
mm,
That's a huge difference from that punitive, very patriarchal way of looking at a relationship with God.
mm. Yeah, I guess I have had a very similar experience to you. I went through Anglican upbringing and had the
Okay,
confirmation
yes.
and christening and all that kind of stuff, and
Hmm.
very similar to Catholic. And yeah, we regularly used to go to church because it was something my grandmother really loved to do. And so, yeah, now that I'm older and I look back at it, that religion wasn't very holistic. Like those beliefs
Hmm.
are somewhat singular and they're not very inclusive.
Right.
So for me, yeah, I think religion is what you make it, really. What you believe in is what matters to you. So yeah, a very similar experience there. But so working with the people that you work with now, what kind of changes have you made for people? What kind of impacts?
I think the greatest one is allowing people to know that they are right
Mm,
without making others wrong.
yeah.
And so I think my gift is allowing people from either side of the aisle to be heard, to be seen, and also to take away the stigma of um, right and wrong.
Mm,
So whether it's, let's say, a tradition, a traditional religion versus new thought. Sometimes when people are in new thought, they have this perception that they're like enlightened consciousness, and those folks over there are clueless, and that's not true.
yeah.
So it's about taking the labels off and just allowing the individual to shine through.
Mm,
And that happens on an organizational level as well. I mean, I've worked with churches and board of directors, and often there is this animosity of us versus them.
yeah.
So for me, no matter whether it's an organization, a religious construct, individuals, relationships, my approach is from a sense of wholeness
Mm,
of, is it possible that given these circumstances, you would you could understand why they would think that way,
mm,
you know? And in that, there's an allowing, and there's just this grace
mm,
of letting people just be. So for me, that's a passion of mine, because once we're able to um, release the gay, straight, the black, white,
mm,
the you know right, wrong, the Republican, the liberal, the whatever it is.
yeah.
These are all labels and constructs, man made constructs
Mm,
that we've been indoctrinated into and that we've bought into. And they're not real.
mm-hmm.
Can I say that? They are not real. The realness, the reality is that each of us is the spark of the divine.
Mm,
End of story.
I love that.
So if I relate to you as a spark of the divine, how am I going to treat you? I'm going to treat you like you are worthy, like you are worthwhile. I'm going to accept you. I'm going to invite you in. That is truth.
Yeah.
That's just juicy to me.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. I love that. And it's so true. Like the freedom that you get and the peace that you get when you let go of the judgment and the labels and all of that and everybody just comes together as one. That
Yes,
that is just absolutely beautiful.
it is.
Mm.
And there's this fear around, and I'm not sure what this is, that there isn't enough for everyone.
Oh,
That
yeah.
if we see each other in oneness, in the same, honoring each other, that somehow there's going to be this famine or flood, or, the locusts are
Mm.
going to descend and there's not going to be enough for everyone.
Yeah, well, we're seeing that now with all the panic buying in the supermarkets and things like that. It's just there is enough. Stop panicking. You're going to be
Yes,
fine.
yes,
Oh,
correct. And so what you're looking at is self-fulfilling manifestations.
mm,
So if I believe that there's lack, my behavior is going to be a hoarder, getting
absolutely.
what's mine, and I'm going to create the lack.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's one of the really wonderful principles, that when I look at this, the spiritual content and the practical spiritual content is about realizing that what we think of, what we hold as our beliefs, is what we create, the world that we create around us.
absolutely. Yeah.
So if I'm a judgmental diva, oh my goodness, I'm going to be surrounded by all these people that need to be judged. And guess what they're going to do? They'll be judging me right back.
Mm,
And so that's what I mean by it, just a self-fulfilling prophecy
yeah.
there.
Yep. Yep. And I've experienced that last couple of years I've done a lot of healing with a sound healer, and we've gone through all of these things that you're talking about. And there'd be certain things we'd focus on, and one of those was anxiety and lack and things like that. And once I got rid of that, all the abundance came into my life. Like everything I
Yes.
could ever want, all the people I needed to meet, I just had to change my beliefs and my mindset
Yes.
in what the universe was bringing me. And
Yes.
you can make it happen.
Yes, we
Absolutely.
can. But there's this fear that, well, if I don't follow this formula, this line of what I was taught, that I'm not going to be successful.
Yeah.
And that's a myth. That's a
Mm,
false belief,
mm,
that we have the power to change and to shift.
absolutely.
And in that changing and shifting, we then get to create systems that would be supportive,
Mm,
that would help us each to thrive, as opposed to the systems that we have in place right now, which are quite patriarchal and from a level of punishment
yeah.
as opposed to support.
Yeah, so true. So what's been your biggest challenge in the work that you do, and how have you overcome it?
I think a couple of things. One is that I had to shift the belief that I am a pulpit minister.
Mm,
Meaning, when I say pulpit minister, is that I would have my own church and my own flock, and that would be my focus. I like that. And I also think that it can be limiting if what I really want to do is impact people on so many different levels in society. So if I'm just a pulpit minister, I'm going to only see the folks that are within my paradigm, let's say.
mm-hmm.
But if I release pulpit ministry, then I get an opportunity to be in the world as a spiritual human being.
Yeah.
That's an interesting challenge. And when I started to hear that that's going to be the next shift for me, I really was like, no, no, I'm a pulpit minister. No, I just finished all of this education. I'm going to be a pulpit minister. And the more that I pushed against that, I just felt I was locked into this level of anxiety around it.
mm,
And it wasn't until I started to breathe and go, well, what else could there be?
mm,
Could there be other possibilities? That then the creativity and doors started to open again, you know?
mm,
And so what I found out is that I really enjoy writing, and I've written a book. I'm working on something now as well. And wow, like how many more people could that reach?
mm.
How many more people could that touch? So I just feel like I'm on the cusp of this exponential launch, and it's exciting and it's also scary because I don't know. Well, there isn't a pathway yet
Yeah.
that I can see. So it's a good overcoming, and we're still in process.
That's amazing. I can't wait to see what happens for you.
Thank you, Cindy.
Now, I ask everyone this question, and it'd be interesting to see your insights on it. Can you define what being ethical means to you?
Ethical means that I walk my talk.
Mm, mm,
So if I'm saying that it's this, what I believe is that we are all divine human beings, then that means my behavior and the way that I approach people have to reflect that.
mm,
So that means that when I am approaching someone, that I'm seeing them from their goodness
mm.
and breathing into that, regardless of what sometimes their outward behaviors
Yeah.
may display. So that's always the challenge. And it's for me, ethics is understanding that everything I touch, I say, I do has a ripple effect
Mm,
to all those around me.
mm,
And to have that awareness of how is this impacting my brother? How is this impacting my neighbor, right?
yeah.
And moving on out to city, to state, to country, to the world.
Mm,
Um, it to me, there's this level of mindfulness that is required to walk an ethical line.
absolutely.
And it's challenging. Sometimes I feel like the biggest nerd on the planet, because I'm checking in on my what thought I'm holding about a person, an organization, a politician, and is that how I want to walk in the world? Because what does that do to me physically, emotionally,
Mm,
spiritually? That's all really governed by what thoughts I'm holding,
yeah.
what beliefs I'm holding. So all of that is part of my work to do as an ethical person, right? Stepping
Mm,
out into the world. And it feels sometimes like I don't want to be like mindful. I just want to go out and just be goofy. And that is okay as well.
yeah.
But it's it's where am I mostly? Where am I focused most of the time that I show up in the world?
Mm,
And I really try to be mindful and self-aware and aware of others.
yeah. Well, it's really just being conscious, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
my friend. Yes, my friend.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting that you mentioned those ripples. I had a bit of a revelation last weekend, and I did a Facebook Live on it. And it all really is around this pandemic stuff at the moment. So anything I do today can change your
Mhm.
tomorrow, and vice
Yes.
versa. So
Yes.
those ripples are global.
They are.
So we can see that through this pandemic by one
Yeah.
person's actions can affect the many.
Correct.
And that
You
is
look at
mind blowing.
it is mind blowing. And the thing is, it's always been there. We just have now a visual
Yeah.
representation of what that means.
Yep. Yep.
And that's where the power is.
Mm.
I know quite a number of people are afraid of the pandemic. And I look at this as a time of we get to really
Mm.
get off the hamster wheel.
Yep.
We get to sit and really be with what is and look at what matters to us, what's important, and how we affect other people.
Mm.
One of um, the areas in the Northwest here got infected because um, a lawyer was in China, came back, and it just created this
Mm.
massive, you know, epicenter.
Mm.
One person,
Yeah.
one person's action,
That's it.
and there's a lot of power in that because I do believe how we operate in the world is not just only how it impacts me, but how it impacts you.
Mm. And even from an environmental sense, more
Oh
so,
my.
like the earth has one big set of lungs, and we have been, terrorizing that for years. Right now, it's actually getting a break. And just by all of us making small change, that collective change becomes one.
Correct. Yes.
So, yeah, and I think, right now, this is something we need to take out of this moment in time is that, to think about everything that we do and how that ripples and affects other people around the world.
Yeah.
So What are your future plans? I know you were saying that you got some big things in the pipeline, but you you haven't quite got a plan on them yet. But you've got your book, and are you
Yes,
working on another one?
I am working on another one. The
Mm.
one that's out right now is called Turning Your Why into Why Not. And
Mm.
it's about how do we navigate this planet with each other, and how do we look at our beliefs, some practical tools and resources on how to shift,
Mhm.
how to transform our prior beliefs, how to be kind to ourselves in that process. So I'm really excited about it. Marketing is so not my strong point, and I'm realizing what an entity that is.
Yeah.
And the one that I'm currently working on is entitled Ditch the Princess.
Mm.
It's really looking at the empowerment of women from a place of where we are, where we've been, the society that we reside in, which
Mhm.
is patriarchal, and how do we embrace getting older,
Mm.
instead of making ourselves insane with size, weight,
Mm.
tall enough, short enough. Um, what are we going to do with our hair? What are we going to do with our makeup? All of these things that we think that we're doing to stay young and attractive, and we lose out on all the wisdom
Mm.
that is it, that women have as we
Yeah.
age, as we shift from being the princess into being the queen, being this wise, benevolent woman that just assists, mentors, and lifts up others.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And so we'll see.
Well, I'm gonna have to grab your book because it sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Um, so how can people find you and your stuff?
My stuff. They could find me at preachitsister.com,
Mhm.
and that's my website. I also have a Facebook page underneath that title as well, Preach It Sister. That's the easiest way to get me, or info at Preach It Sister if you want to email me. I'm also in the process of looking at creating a group where we're willing to have those vulnerable dialogues,
Mm.
those vulnerable conversations. And one of the things that I want to start off with is looking at fear.
Mm.
Being able to just name our fears in the first place is very powerful,
Yeah.
um, because we've been conditioned to be fearless, which is wonderful. But what do you do when you're afraid?
Mm.
Um, and so for me, I want to have a place where people can share what their fears are, and then look at, do they want to hold on to that fear, or would they like to create a new belief around that, which will
Yeah.
help them to release the fear.
That's so powerful.
So
Mm.
thank you. That's what I'm working on. So hopefully I'll have some more information on that in the next week or two.
Oh, that's great. I'd love to be a part of that. Um, so here's the big question for you, Sheree.
Uh-oh, a big one.
It's a big one. What's the change you'd like to see in the world, and how can we bring it to life?
I would like to see a revolution in the systems that are in place today. I would like to see the end of the prison system. I would like to see the end of the educational systems that are not working for everyone. I would like to see the end of our financial systems that are not based on equality.
Mm.
So all those types of systems are that have been created by white males who have been in power, who were rich. I'm glad that they created them. They were necessary, and now it's time for an evolution.
Mm.
And I believe that evolution doesn't have to come with violence. I believe it can come with an awakening of consciousness. And the more of us that awaken, the easier it's going to be to construct these new systems that level the playing field, that sees each individual as worthy, as wondrous, as belonging to
Mm.
planet Earth,
Yeah.
part of the human race. And therefore, how do we create this amazing world where everyone matters?
Oh, God, I love that.
So that's my dream. Very simple.
Oh, just a little one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, Sheree, it has been absolutely beautiful connecting with you this morning. Thank you so much for being a part of the Ethical Evolution.
I love it. I love that you've created this. I am really interested in your process as well. How did you get here? How did this evolve? Do you mind taking a few minutes to just share a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So, it's actually kind of interesting in that it pretty much came to me as a vision after a meditation. So, I basically could see a commercial premises that, so it was basically the Ethical Change Agency, and what it was a place where ethical business owners and holistic healers and change makers and those kind of people could come and create meaningful content, whether it be video or audio or whatever it might be, meditations, anything, or if they wanted to do holistic practice of any kind in healing, there would be spaces there for them to do that. And the idea is that it would be global, like a franchise. No matter where those people were, they could check in, do their thing, and then go about the magic that they do every day.
Nice.
And then I started to get more. I get these messages. So the next part of it was, okay, and I could see there was this change that was happening, in the way that people make their decisions and spend their money and work and all of these kind of things. And then I just went, you know what, I need to bring all these people together so that we can have this collective change and share the conversation and become one. And the more people I speak to, I can see there is an actual ethical evolution happening. And what I'm starting to do is people all over the world is I'm connecting them together because they're on the same mission. So we're bringing that collective change together for real.
Oh, that's awesome, awesome, awesome. Awesome. I need to be part of the evolution.
She's in. Preach it, sister.
I'm in. Absolutely. It was, when I saw it, I just was so drawn to it. And what you had written there, and I was like, this looks like my tribe.
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Yeah.
So really excited, Bindi.
Yeah.
Really excited.
And I can tell when people are my tribe because once they get on this podcast, the connection that we've got from the opposite sides of the world, it's absolutely electric.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You feel the sparkle,
yes.
for lack of a better word. And there's that energy that, when you come together, it just magnifies.
Yeah.
That's the feeling.
Yeah.
And that you don't get that all the time, Bindi. So
No.
what you're creating is wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of it. And absolutely, let's stay in touch and see if we can do more.
I would love that.
Thanks so much, Sheree.
Thank you. Bye, Bindi.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Evolution podcast. If you're an ethical business owner, change maker, or holistic healer who's determined to make a change in the world and you need support to spread your message, visit ethicalchangeagency.com to collaborate.
If you're a working professional wondering what's next for your career, you've come to the right place. Whether you're looking for a promotion, growth, or a potential career transition, look no further. With over 30 years working in a variety of industries, I share my insider knowledge with those ready to get ahead on Career Advancement with Craig Ansell. Tune in to get your strategies for success.
Introducing the Deep Leadership Podcast. Leadership is a people business. That's the philosophy of your podcast host, John Rennie. As a former submarine officer who spent 22 years leading businesses in corporate America before starting his own manufacturing business, he knows that leadership matters. Deep Leadership is real-world, actionable leadership advice from John and his expert guests. Become a leader worth following. Subscribe today.
Electricast.